going on, everybody? How's Monday treating you? Mine is, it's a Monday. Definitely a Monday. Here we go. So we are in Reading. I think we ended our last trip on the ATS side. I think we ended in Fresno, but the closest garage we had to Fresno was Reading. So I reloaded the truck. We were in the, in the Mac Anthem. So I hopped in the Freightliner. I reskinned it. Then I hopped in the Freightliner. I reskinned the belly van, they call it. Right? Hook these two up. I don't know about the wheels. This is the only thing I really haven't figured out about this skin yet, is the wheels. I went with kind of a powder coat look, color match to the blue. I don't know. I feel like chrome is not appropriate for this skin, but I don't know if powder coat is either. So we will figure it out. But I want to do some local runs and stay, I don't know, not closer, but you know what I mean? I don't want to do any big trips, but I do want to head up to Oregon and Washington. So I think anywhere in here is going to be fine. Oh, that's kind of limited. We can go to, oh God. All right. We can go to Olympia. I mean, how long did we get there? 15 hours? All right. Well, there goes my plan. I wanted to do just local runs. Let's see if there's anything going out of Eureka. Nope. Hornbrook. Nope. Klamath Falls. Let's go into the Dales. How long to get there? 6 hours? I don't know if we could be there in 6 hours. Probably. It'd be close. Let's just take this one. Ugh. All right. There goes my plan. It's not that far. It's 584 miles, which is less than some of the 1,000 and 1,200 mile trips we've been doing. So we'll take this one. When we get up here, we'll see if we can stay a little bit more local. All right. Let's do it. And what are we taking? Wood shavings for once. Taking an appropriate cargo. I feel like we always have like smashed up cars in this trailer. I don't know. All right. So windows up. Lift axle is up. Brakes off. Get rid of this. We don't need it. Here we go. And do we need fuel? Get the wheel turned around here to see if we do. Ernie, how you doing? What's happening? Also, what I was pulling in here, I pulled in behind the hotel. It was the first blue bed that I saw on the map. All right, so I pulled in here and slept, get prepped for the stream. And I realized since the ownable trailers, I really haven't been sleeping in hotels more. On the ATS side and the ETS side, whoa, sir, help the trucker out. Just, there you go. I feel like since the ownable trailers, since we typically have trailers on, it's not as easy to get into the hotels as it used to be when you were just a truck, right? And I know you can drop your owned trailer and just go to the hotel and sleep, but I don't know, the way the time compresses, I know the time compression stops when you're in a city. Like it's 15 to 1 when you're outside city limits. I think it's 1 to 1 when you're in a city. And I really would like to, I guess the cities would need to be bigger, you know, where you'd need to go through the hassle of finding a place, like more designated parking lots, I guess, where you could drop a trailer. More designated areas like that. Drop the trailer, drive to the hotel, sleep, then go back and pick your trailer up, as people do in real life sometimes. But I think it's easier to just schedule everything to not happen on the highway, but you know what I mean? You just stop on the highway and pull over to a rest stop there. But if they could somehow make that work, I don't know. We'll put that in with buses. Oh, thanks, Ernie. I appreciate that. I've been skinning and skinning. I kind of want to have everything done before the end of January. All the planes are done. I need to get the trucks done. I need to get that sunshield strip done for FS19, I guess. We'll try it in there. But yeah, it's been... I've been hustling, man. My OCD is, it's not bad. Even on a bad day, it's not terrible. It's kind of OCD you can joke about. It's not the other kind. But it can be, it's definitely something I need to manage. I was flying yesterday in X-Plane and had a game crash about 10 minutes from Helsinki. I was flying from Schiphol, Amsterdam to Helsinki. Had a game crash just about 10 minutes from landing. And my OCD was straight up triggered. It really, really was. And it was about midnight, so I was thinking, well, you know what, I'll just knock it out. But it's about a 2.5-hour flight, and that's still good. That's still good. So I went to sleep, but I did wake up at like 4 o'clock, and that was the first thing I did. And that's what the downside of OCD. It definitely gets things done when it comes to being really averse to task abandonment. That's the clinical way to say it. Averse to task abandonment. And you do get a lot done, but there are times when it feels right on the edge of being sort of beyond your control. And I didn't really have anything else on the docket this morning, so I was able to hop right into that. But it's just this weird feeling. I mean, I know when you leave a project undone or when something doesn't complete the way you want it to, you very often have that feeling of things being a bit unsettled. And for me, OCD is that feeling is very, very difficult to manage. I think for a lot of other people, it's just kind of whatever. What are you going to do? Now, I'm noticing that we're at 40 FPS, so I'm going to try something here. I'm going to Alt-Enter a couple times and see if that bumps us back up. I'm wondering if because we were tabbing back and forth between various windows, if we haven't lost the focus on this. I know Windows, whatever process is at the front tends to get the most resources. And I feel like when you're tabbing around, sometimes the window that you think is on the front, or the window that is on the front on your main monitor, may not be the window that Microsoft Windows is seeing as the one in front. So, yep, I just did several Alt-Enters and we're back to 60 FPS. Or we were. Come on now. Green light, let's find a good gear. A good gear, I said. There we go. And what else is going on? I just saw oh, no, we're all over the place. Back down to 40. What is happening right now? Very strange. All right, we will continue to monitor. Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe it. And, I mean, for me, it's progress that I didn't do it last night. When I say my OCD is controllable, manageable, that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. Now, again, I'm joking about it. It sounds like I'm making light of it. I know there are people that really, really suffer. It's really kind of a miserable thing that they have to deal with. And this is certainly not that. It's just kind of a quality of life. I don't know, something. But I'm able to manage it. And when I have days like today where it feels like I'm not managing it, that is a little bit frustrating, but what can you do? Normally I apply that to work projects, and the whole reason I mentioned it is I'm wanting to get all those skins done before the end of January. I think because they're mismatched right now, that we've got some... Man, are my lights on? What is going on? We're in the 30s now. Come on, Gabe. This is no good. We're sort of mismatched, and what I'm doing is only driving trucks that have the skin, but because I'm the one making the skin, any truck that doesn't have a skin, it's my fault that it doesn't have it. So I'm trying to get them all done so that then we can drive any truck we want. Swing it a little wide there, a little bit wide. So that is going on. There is going to be on February 4th, there's going to be a DLC dropping for Train Sim World, and I may get it. It's a UK high-speed route, and I don't have one of those. I have 2 German, 1 French, and of course we lost the Northeast Corridor, although the Acela, in real life, it's not actually high-speed. It looks high-speed. It looks like it could go very fast, but I think it goes about 40 miles an hour. So we'll have 4 high-speed routes. I don't know. I mean, I sort of see where Dovetail was coming from when people were describing what it was they wanted. Everybody wants Steam, of course. But when people were talking about wanting high-speed rail, I felt like Dovetail was not trying to talk them out of it, but kind of trying to talk them out of it. Do you really want high-speed? And the Marseille to Avignon route, I think, is a pretty good demonstration of why we might not want high speed. The scenery is really bland. I think it is only designed to be sped past at 300 plus kilometers per hour. Because if you slow down and look at it, I did. If you slow down and look at it, it's really, really bad. And it makes sense because those routes have to be like 2 to 3 times longer than a regular route to keep the file size down, and I think also to keep them loading quickly. They bring the level of detail down. So that's one thing. They don't look great. Munich, Aachen, and what's the other one? The other one. The 2 German routes, I think, look decent, but I think they're primarily built with assets from previous German DLC. Whereas the new one, Marseille-Avignon, is new assets. I heard that it's recycled assets from Train Sim World. I don't know if that's true or not. All right, set the brake, take a look here. Yeah, something's wrong. I feel like this process does not have priority. All right, wood shavings to Wenatchee. Story of my life. All right, where are we going? Right there. So we'll flip around. All right. So I would like to get it, but I really like the rolling stock in Marseille-Avignon, and I like the way the train behaves, but I don't know. I feel like we're sort of pushing the limits on high speed, so I don't know what that's going to be like. Now, it does have a local train as well, but it does have a train for local service. So ultimately, I think I will get it, and we'll stream it, of course. But fingers crossed that turns out to be a good purchase. And what was the other thing that I saw? We get a Farm Sim DLC tomorrow, and I'll get that either way. So we'll definitely be streaming that. And was there one other thing that I saw? I thought there was one other thing. I don't know. Starting to see some screenshots of X-Plane 12. Are we going the right way? Yeah, we are. Started to see some screenshots of X-Plane 12, and I have 5 add-on planes now. I have 5 payware aircraft. I have a couple pieces of, I don't know what we would call them. They're payware mods. Like X-Life is a payware mod. XP Realistic is payware. The Chatter app that we're using for just the sounds of ATC, that's payware. Let me see. It comes with, XP11 comes with like half a dozen high-def airports, but I'm thinking because I want to fly those regular routes and continue to sort of teach myself procedures and SIDS and stars and that sort of thing, familiarize myself with taxiing, I think I really am going to focus on Gatwick, Glasgow, Dublin, and Schiphol. Let's see if we can get this in here. One swing. And I did find payware versions of almost all of those airports, but I'm really on the fence because hang on, concentrate. Gonna have to straighten that out. Triggered. There we go, better. There's a couple of concerns that I have. One is I've read reviews on some of the payware, and it's not just because it's payware doesn't mean it's great. All right, there's neutral. Set the brake. Windows down. Engine off. There we go. And a lot of these payware add-ons are made by Aerosoft. And Aerosoft is the company that made the Straw Harvest for FS17, and that is, I think, a good example of not great. All right, reset track IR. Here we go. Here we go. I don't know why the engine just turned off. Rolling. So they're not all great. Some of the reviews are not great. And I don't know that it would make a massive difference to my gameplay anyway, because you don't spend a ton of time at the airport. When you're sitting at the gate and then you taxi, but the taxiing makes up on both ends probably less than 10% of the flight. And with X-Plane 12 coming, I just don't know. And I feel like it could get out of hand very quickly, because then you think, well, you know, Leeds and Manchester, just for a little variety. And Well, Heathrow, of course, because it's right there. Next thing you know, you've spent $1,000 on airports. So I want to be careful with that. And like I said, some of them, I guess, are just not very good. So I would hate to... And there's no refunds. There's no 20-minute cooling off period. There's no 2-hour buffer zone with the X-Plane store. They put the arm down. Some of those you can buy through Steam. Some of them you can buy as DLC through Steam, and then you do have the 2-hour refund period. But if you buy anything through xplane.org, I am learning. This flight sim community, they are just angry old men. They are. Yeah, I mean, for me, it wasn't just the bugs. It was also just the whole flow of it. I feel like if they had released it as the Krona pack and just had a couple bailers in it, that would have been enough. But the pellet thing never made sense to me. I never made any money with it, and it came with those terrible buildings that just looked like they'd been absolutely slapped together out of leftover pieces and low-res parts. I was disappointed with it. I really was. And I do keep it installed, and I use some of the equipment all the time, but if it was just the equipment, I'd be a lot happier about whatever I paid for it. $18, I think. And this frame rate is truly a mystery.
Turn left.
Oh, easy. Yeah. I know a lot of people feel that way. And I think that was the only third-party DLC. I don't know if that was Giants or Aerosoft sort of dipping a toe into the idea of third-party DLC. I think there have been third-party DLC for FS19, and this new one coming is third-party. But I think that was the only third-party DLC for 17. It can work. It works in plenty of other sims. I think it just needs to be something monitored. So that's what's going on there. Looking forward to it. It was nice to be back in 19. 19 has grown on me, I have to say. I don't think it will ever be as good to me as 17, but I'm going to try your name. Is it Svetislav? Is it a hard C or a soft C? Let's get slowed down here. And when you say football, there you go. I'm trying to do too many things at once here. When you say football, do you mean football or do you mean football? Oh, really? That is both encouraging and terrifying. It's 3 years late, really. I feel good about that. Confidence is high. Mostly I'm just trying to be careful, because when I say this all the time, when I got back into gaming, I really thought it was just going to be truck sim and farm sim. I did not anticipate train sim and flight sim. And I feel like train sim is bad and flight sim is worse when it comes to like the money toilet. Man, I don't know what to do about this frame rate. I really don't. The gameplay's faster than this. You like potatoes? I sort of ruined potatoes for myself with Lone Oak. I did a disservice to myself. Hang on, look at something here. All right, I'm baffled. Because it says, yep, the bitrate is good, no dropped frames. Okay, so right now we're at solid 60 FPS. 61, so we're on the rev limiter. All right. I sort of ruined potatoes for myself. I did 4 big square fields of potatoes, and it was just an absolute grind. It was miserable. And by the time I was done, I feel like I never wanted to do another potato again. All right, seems to be holding now. Seems to be. Whatever the problem was, hopefully, we've left it behind. And what else? Was there... I feel like there was one other thing that I was expecting. Yeah, a little bit. And I think, what's the other one? Sugar beets are pretty rough too, because you do them with that, is it the Homer harvester? It has just like a 3-meter head, and it goes like 2 miles per hour. I feel like of the two, sugar beets are the worst. Yeah, I mean, in base game, you're definitely right. It's sort of a tie between canola and silage. But if you're running seasons, or if you've got a geomod running, well, if you have a geomod running, then you're running seasons as well. But I think it can be, the economies can be rewritten to be really brutal, and take the sweet spot out of canola. Because we just harvested soybeans in the Western Shore. We barely made any money at all from a huge field of triple fertilized and plowed soybeans. I think we made like 40 grand, and it cost us about 10 grand to get it out of the ground, leasing the combine harvester. So we made 30 grand for a whole field. The field next to it, we made 90 grand with grass. But silage has always been OP in Farm Sim. Yep, frame rate seems to be fixed. I don't know what that was. It's probably like a Windows update or something. Oh, Windows. Is there anything you can't screw up? In fairness, Windows is an amazing accomplishment. It's like, what, 3.5 million lines of code? And for the most part, it does amazing things. I mean, we notice it when it fails, but for the most part, it's just working behind the scenes, running our system, harvesting our data. And was there one other thing? There was... So we're waiting on 2 DLC for Truck Sim. No real date on that. We got a Train Sim DLC coming. We've got Farm Sim DLC coming. I feel like there was one more. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Unknown. It'll come back to me. Got me really thinking yesterday when we were talking about the new Truck Sim, whatever the next iteration is, if they run it on Havoc. And I hadn't even realized this, but we were talking about terrain deformation and weather. I'm sorry, Farm Sim. If the next Farm Sim is running on Havoc, terrain deformation and draw distance, and I forgot that Havoc seems to do really well for physics, because SnowRunner vehicles have all those, have all the physics. They have that feeling of weight to them and momentum, and the way they tip and try to roll downhill, all that sort of thing. So it'd be amazing to have that feeling of physics in vehicles in Truck Sim. It's been Truck Sim. I keep saying Truck Sim. Farm Sim. When you drive in other sims, other games, for me at least, I realize how flat the vehicles feel in Farm Sim. So that would be amazing if they brought that in there. Now, on the Truck Sim side, I keep saying Truck Sim. On the Truck Sim side, I don't know what they're going to do with this game. They've got to get it off Prism. I am not running Pro Mods right now. You got to tell me, do I pronounce the C in your name? Is it Kvetislav or Svetislav? At the moment, I do not have Pro Mods installed. Oh, you know what? I just remembered something. I want to say I backed the... Yeah, I don't want to look because it's a graphics setting and I'm concerned about wrecking the stream. But I feel like I backed the scaling from 400 to 200 on the ETS side. But I don't know why I would do that. I don't think I have to do that because ETS is running smooth. It's ATS that's been giving us problems with the trees. So I want to say I backed the scaling down a little bit on ATS. You know, a professional streamer would check this stuff before they start. Me, I just kind of wonder about it after I start. What can you do? And that's everything on my list. Yep. I can't think of anything else.
Go straight on.
Welcome to Oregon. Hell yeah. I really like Pro Mods. I would say till about a year ago. I really like Pro Mods, but it's still an amazing mod. I personally don't see a need for it anymore because the maps have become so big with the DLC. And I guess I'm a little put off by the Svetoslav. Right on. Cool, welcome. Oh, easy. I also don't like what happens with your profile when a new patch drops. Now, in fairness, you don't have to test the beta when the beta drops. And even when the full retail patch drops, you don't have to roll forward to it. I think it's amazing that SCS maintains that archive. So you can stay on the previous version of the game until ProMods patches up and then just carry everything forward. But when you look in your game file, when you look in your error log, running ProMods, you just get this amazing buildup of errors. Because there's so many cities that are there, that aren't there. They're only there in ProMods, you know? So I find like this profile that we have now on the ETS side for 1.39 is clean. It's never had ProMods. And when I look at the error log, it's small. It's tiny. I mean, there's still errors in there, but it's tiny compared to running ProMods. And we're also moving away from running a lot of aftermarket trucks and mod trucks. And ideally, we can get to a point where it is just paid DLC and workshop items. Yeah, and even the euro is voluntary. Voluntary, put the stress on a different syllable. Even the €1 is voluntary. I always pay it, you know, because it is really. John Law, help me out here, brother. Even if it's just bandwidth, it's amazing what they do, because that's like a gig download and it doesn't come from Google Drive. It comes from like a server somewhere, so that's bandwidth. They're not just volunteering their time, somebody's paying for that server. I've wondered for a long time if SCS isn't involved in that somehow. I thought that was maybe an outsourced expansion that SCS couldn't afford to develop right now. But in the meantime, they could have some volunteers do it. I'm making air quotes. They could have volunteers do it, break them off a little piece, and they would get a greatly expanded map. No liability, right? They just say, hey, these modders did it. It's not us. We got nothing to do with that. And all of that would, well, that was very little notice. You know what I mean? Sort of under the radar. I've wondered about that. If that wasn't their way of expanding the map out and keeping people interested before they had the staff and the income and the resources to have, what do they got now, 200 people? But in the interim, that they would have a bigger crew without the financial and managerial complications of having a bigger crew. Right in here. Right there. 77,000 pounds. Here we go. Yeah, agreed. And I think they may do like a light version. Well, this late in the game, because ETS has been out for 9 years now. I don't know that they're going to port it over, and I don't think they would bother porting it over to the 8th gen consoles, because expectations of what graphics are going to look like on those consoles. Enterprise, what's happening? I didn't compliment you on your screen name either. That is that's a good one. It's, hang on, let me get through here. It's unusual, right? It's very elegant. It's to the point. But yep, definitely wanted to compliment you on that. That is a very cool screen name. Yeah, the expectations of what graphics are going to look like on 8th gen consoles, I don't think people would, anybody that's got a new, what are they going for, like $800 bucks, $1,000? Anybody who's got a brand new console doesn't want to see a game that looks like this. So I don't know that they would go through the time and effort to port it over. But I think the next one, they'd make a ton of money if they did. You know, I don't know whether they would or not. It would rule out mods. But who's to say that mods are going to be a part of the next truck simulator anyway? Could be all paid DLC. Could just be a massive game that has everything in it the day it drops. Not likely. I don't think a lot of devs are working from that model anymore, but it could. You know, I've been surprised before. But yeah, I think in 2021, you can either stay a small independent studio and develop niche PC games, or if you want to have 200 people working for you, as SCS does now, you've got to be looking at console. I feel like there's just no other way to make that. You got to make that console money, and there's no other way to do it. So we'll see. I mean, the fact that they're growing tells me they're not just going to let the title fade away. The fact that they are hiring people, I think if they wanted to go, I don't know, call it 10 years, and then just give the game to the community and make it freeware, I don't think they would have all these people on staff. And there are titles that have done that. I think Jane's did that with some of their combat flight simulators. I want to say one of the Silent Hunters did that, where the devs and publishers essentially just gave it to the community. They realized they're not going to make any more money from it, and they've got a devoted fan base, so there's really nothing to lose by giving it away. Yeah, I think so, Ernie. And like we were talking about yesterday, that's not necessarily the best thing for the more realistic PC players, but in a way it is, because you wonder, would there be 19 if it wasn't for console players? Would there even be a 17? Would there be all these DLC? So I do think console sales can keep a franchise alive. And as much as, we're PC Master Race, we're looking down on the console players. You're ruining everything by drawing attention away from our needs. But at the same time, we wouldn't have a title at all, I think, if it weren't for console gamers and the money that they commit. Do we want to sleep right now? Hang on. Let's take a look here. F3, F5. Oh, I got to decide quickly. 21 hours. We need to sleep in 5 hours. I think we can push on. All right. So we got 5 hours, 59 minutes to sleep, and compressing 15 to 1. So that means an hour goes by in 4 minutes. So 4 times 5. So about 20 minutes till we need to sleep. It's entirely possible my math right there was just horrifically broken, but what can I say? I'm no mathlete. I'm really wondering if it's not trees now, because we're dropping down again. We were rock solid at 60. We're dropping down again. I think it might be trees. Oh man, I hope it's not a lighting thing. I know they're experimenting with lighting. I don't know if they brought any of the lighting stuff for 1.40 into all these patches that we're getting. I don't know if they would test it in beta, right? They wouldn't test it in a hotfix. But I am curious. I would really love to back the scaling down, but I'm concerned that if I try to do that, because I've got XSplit hooked into the EXE, and I'm concerned if I do that, we're going to lose our hook. So we'll just let it roll. Yeah, we're back up now. Distant trees, I think we're okay with. It's when the trees come in really close on the sides of the road. You really notice it in Colorado. I think that's the worst one for now. But this is, yeah, a lot of trees here too. All right. I feel like SCS has to be so careful with that. Really? Okay, so it's not just me then. I hope that's them experimenting, trying to find a fix. When, what was it? I think it might have been Flight Sim 20. But one of the debates that I saw, that's a nice word for an argument. It's a nice word for a fight. One of the debates that I saw on a forum was somebody was talking about how the game looked fine on their system. And then they, RTX 2080 Super 64 gig of 3200 RAM, and they're on a i9 10900, and just an absolute weapon of a system. And then somebody else said, well, I don't know what y'all are talking about, because I have a potato system, and when I completely potato the graphics, it looks fine on my system as well. And people in the forum, people in the chat were like, sigh. Okay. A game that looks good on a high-end system is working the way it's supposed to. A game that looks bad but still plays fast on a low-end system with low graphic settings is working as it's supposed to. The problem with Microsoft Flight Simulator is it looks like ass and it plays really slow on some high-end systems because it's poorly optimized. If you got lucky and you have the right combo and it looks good on high graphic settings on your system, that's fantastic, but many people find that to be not the case. So saying that I can turn the graphics down and it plays just fine, yes, that's what low graphics settings are for. The problem is when you turn the graphics down and it still plays like ass, or when you've got a high-end system that can't handle a game that is, it's graphically demanding, but it's not the most graphically demanding game ever. So I think the fact that some people can make the game look good on their personal system by no means sort of takes away from the fact that a poorly optimized game is a poorly optimized game. So I hope Giants, as they continue to expand the boundaries, as they continue to grow their project, I hope they're aware of that. That it's not just piling on features. You got to keep the game optimized as well. Man, I would love a construction simulator. There's one. It came out in 2017, or there's one that I know of. It came out in 2017, and I felt like it was really kind of hand-holdy. You go to the place, you drive the thing back and forth, you're done. Or you go to the place, you lift the wind turbine parts into place, and then you're done. I would really like to see it more open-ended, where you start with a couple basic pieces of kit. If you make money, you can buy better equipment, but you bid on jobs, and if you get the jobs, then you've got to take a look at the equipment you have and figure out, can I do with this equipment? Do I need to lease equipment? Do I need to buy equipment? You need to drive to the job site. I think that would be a fantastic way to do it. Turn my brights off here. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And, I get that the idea of baby steps. I know that they need to, you gotta run before you can walk. Or, reverse that the other way. You don't want to be. So I know some of these games that are really disappointing, they're baby steps. We'll get there. That firefighting simulator I got this year. Oh. I just could have taken a little pile of money and burned it, and it would have been a better investment than that. It's so disappointing. Not at all what I expected. But what can you do? And it didn't feel like a bait and switch. It felt like developers that are realizing how hard it is to make a video game. Same with Cattle and Crops. I wish them nothing but success. But I think they're realizing how difficult it is to make a video game. And when you look at some of the massive studios that drop the ball on development, I'm talking like billion-dollar operations. Yeah. You want me to stream it? It is terrible. In the trailer for it, you're walking around this truck, you're walking around a fire truck in a garage, and they're talking about like fully licensed. Wait, what? Oh, sat-nav, what are you doing, man? Is it going to run me up through the red light and then just back down the ramp? All right. See, here's what happens. When I don't do exactly what the sat-nav tells me, I end up horribly turned around and lost. And when I do exactly what the sat-nav tells me, things like this happen. All right. So yeah, in the trailer for that, they make it sound like, you're walking around this garage, it looks like Forza, right? And I was thinking, sweet. I don't know how many for-profit fire departments there are. I don't think they let you do that. But it looks like you've got a... Hang on, I'm trying to read this. Yeah, they do. I think that's another mistake that Cattle and Crops made. is they made modding too hard. And I think even though it's a different franchise, I think because it's a farm simulator title, people just expect that mod component to be there from day one. I tried to do a couple things, and I guess you need to license Unreal Engine for your desktop. Or no, not Unreal. They're on C4 Tombstone. But you need to license it to yourself? It's like a $350 license to make mods. Come on now. I don't think many people are going to do that, especially not for basic stuff. So yeah, I think one of the mistakes that Master Brain Bytes made was they talked about modding, but then they, at least in its current iteration, they made it just too difficult. So yeah, Firefighter Simulator in the trailer, and it may still be up, but in the trailer, it looks like you're walking around this Forza garage with a fire truck, and I thought, well, they're talking about licensed brands. So I guess you start with a basic fire truck, and then as you XP up, as you make money, you can add branded parts to your fire truck. Hot diggity, man. I'm down with that. Can't wait. And then when you see the final product, you're driving around in these like Minecraft trucks. And then when you get to a fire, there is AI. You've got a squad. They are terrible. They don't do what you they don't do what you tell them to do. And the game really handholds. And it, after like my third or fourth fire, I realized they're all exactly the same. So you can have, so there's a fire, there's like a structure fire, and then within a structure fire, there can be a grease fire, and every time you hit that with water, it just flares up, so you have to bring a CO2 fire extinguisher from the truck. There can be an electrical fire that will continue reigniting until you find the fuse box and turn it off. There can be a chemical fire, I think is the other one. And there is, now this is well done. They do have a backdraft, which is nice, because I guess a backdraft makes this kind of pulsing sound as it's trying to draw oxygen into the room. So then if you open the door and it gets that flood of oxygen, it just explodes out in your face. So that's done pretty well. The backdraft risk is handled pretty well, I guess, like there's anything to compare it to. But that's okay. But I just realized it had no legs. There's nothing really to do. Nothing happens. There's no equipment to get. There's no upgrades. Nothing happens. You just go to a set of buildings that are all virtually identical to one another and put out the same fire over and over. You know what? I have never played Minecraft. I've never played a single, what's it called? I sound like an old now. What's it called? Is it a round? Is it a match? What's it called? What do the youngs call it when they play the Rust? I've never played Minecraft. Oh, and you know what? I'm an idiot. I didn't pull in and sleep, and I had to remind myself, okay, 20 minutes, we got to sleep. And I've just been talking and talking, forgetting to sleep. I don't even know how long it's been. So we're probably going to fall asleep like we do every single trip. Firefighter mode for GTA 5. Hell yeah, man. I can't believe the people have modded that game, but we were talking about that too the other day. That game wasn't even built to be modded. People were just like, you know what? I bet if I unpack all this game code, I can totally alter it, edit it to make it more something I want it to be. That is some big D energy. Man, I know there is one more thing that's about to happen that I wanted to tell you about. So X-Plane, FS19, FS17, we're going to keep grinding on the Western Shore. Train Sim World. And then the Potato DLC. I don't know, man. I swear there was one more thing. There's nothing else. Nothing on my wish list is scheduled to drop anytime soon. Let's get slowed down here. Yeah, nothing on my list is scheduled to drop anytime soon, so we'll just keep, I don't know, making our way through this. We're in the doldrums right now. It's like a absolutely dead time of year for gaming. counted the other day, we're at about 990 videos that I've posted. Between recorded videos and live stream, we're at about 990, and I think we're at like 960 for subs. So what I'm going to do is focus on getting 1,000 videos done for my YouTube channel and getting 1,000 subs, and then we're going to bring Twitch in. I don't want to sort of split my focus when we're this close, but I'm still not going to self-promote. I'm just not comfortable doing that. It's really weird to me that I'm in marketing, but the idea of self-promotion is like, no. We don't do that here. So we just got to let it grow organically. We're pretty close. And I've noticed that let's get slowed down here. I've noticed that one good video can be worth 50 to 100 subs. So we'll see what happens. I've got my building. It's a different kind of building, I know, but my favorite title to build in is City Skylines. And I would like to bring City Skylines to the channel. Or Planet Coaster. I feel like it's just too different. And something that I'm noticing about successful channels is they do tend to stay focused. What a lot of people will do is whatever their most popular title is, they build the entire channel around that, and then they open a second channel for everything else. So Flight Deck to Sim that I watch, it's just Flight Sim, right? Either X-Plane, Microsoft Flight Simulator 20. I don't think he does Prepared. I think he's just X-Plane and Flight Sim. But then he's got another channel where they play other games. So I feel like I've got a little bit too much variety in the channel. I mean, I know there are other streamers that I watch, and my title list, it's not designed to be this way. It's just identical to theirs. We play exactly the same titles. I tend to have racing titles as well. They don't seem to do any of that. But I feel like the model is there, and they're certainly successful. Their channels are massive. So I feel like there is room for it, but maybe in the current era, people do want sort of single title channels rather than a lot of variety. So the idea of bringing in City Skylines, I think would be, I'm already pushing my luck with things like Hunter Call of the Wild and Kerbal. Truck Sim and Farm Sim go together, right? They're peas and carrots, no problem. Flight Sim, I think, fits right in there with those. But apparently, a lot of other people don't feel that way. So I got to be careful with that one. Racing, I haven't found a way to bring it to the channel. It was a big part of the channel early days, but looking back on those videos, they're terrible. My driving is terrible for one thing, but there's nothing there. Nothing happens in the video. It's just me driving a car. And again, you gotta walk before you can crawl. Nope, reverse that too. You gotta start somewhere, right? You gotta make mistakes. If there's going to be trial and error, you got to have errors, and those videos are errors. I leave them up, though. I leave them up so I can sort of remind myself of where I started. But yeah, it was just me driving around talking. Okay, nobody's going to watch that. That is terrible. And that's the reason I don't have currently any race titles on the channel. I mean, I'll do, like, if something new drops for us at a Corsa Competizione, I'll make a quick video where I kind of show it and talk about it. But the idea of doing a race is, at this point, just, I don't think it would work, because I can't talk when I'm driving at the level that I'm driving at now. When I was driving on gamepad, yeah, I can chat with you, but the level that I drive at now in like iRacing, titles like that, I can't talk at all. I'm 100% concentrating. So I do feel like I'm already sort of pushing my luck as far as the various titles that I'm bringing to the channel, and to stretch it out even more with something like City Skylines, it can't hurt to try, but I just don't think it's necessarily a good fit. So I'm going to, looks like parking is right here. Okay. So let's pull in here.
Turn right.
Let's get parked up. And then tomorrow morning, you know what? I just dipped across that parking lot, didn't even look behind me. Terrible truck driving. All right. Can I open the map? Yep, sure can. Give me just a second to get pulled in here. And what I will do, once we get to, where are we going, Klamath Falls? Once we get to Klamath Falls, which I think is not very far from here. Oh, look at that. Straight and even. Who's driving this truck? Although, I'm not seeing my trigger. Are we in the trigger? Man, I hope we are. All right, windows down. Out of reverse. Set the brake. Parking lights on. Yep, we're in the trigger. All right, so we'll sleep first. That'll put us at tomorrow morning. Yep, 6:30. Beautiful. Here's the map. No, I guess we're not that close. So we were in Oregon, and now we sort of crossed back into... I'm sorry, we were in Washington. We crossed back into Oregon. So we've still got a ways to go. 200 miles. And then this is the whole map. I think we got everything discovered, and we own every garage. So, progress. Right. When we get into... Where we... Klamath Falls? Wenatchee. When we get into Wenatchee, I will brake off, lights on. Let's get some fuel. I will take the scaling down a little bit and see if that helps at all. It's sort of confusing and frustrating because right now we are at solid 60. Wow, and then we just dropped to 40. Yeah, I don't know. Either I have a background process running or the game is, like you said, these updates, maybe they're not so good. And I don't know what it is that they're updating. There we go. All right. Pick lights, engine. It is the game? Oh, that's disappointing. I mean, I know I was seeing some problems in the very newest DLC, and that would be, what? Idaho? Colorado. I know I was seeing some problems there, but Oregon and Washington, they are... Interesting. I mean, I know it was in the latest DLC, but I didn't think it extended out to all areas of the map. But I guess it's possible if they're trying new things with lighting that, I don't want to say they broke the game, but you know what I mean. Sort of testing the limits, experimenting a little bit. And I know they do want to get into some new lighting. And I hope they don't break this game. I think I'll be okay on the... Carefully. I think I'll be okay on the 1660 Ti, but I know one of the things people really love about this game is there's a lot of boomers with just absolute potato systems that can play this game, have it look good, and have a decent frame rate. And I wouldn't say that they would ruin the franchise, but you know what I mean. It would suck if that big devoted part of their fan base no longer had access to the most recent version of the game, and I think you need to be on the most recent version to use the most recent DLC. Like if you do roll back to an archived copy, you might not be able to use all the DLC. Only the DLC that were released when that version that you're on was the new one. Does that make sense? I think I said that right. Yeah, I mean, they have to know that. SCS seems like a company that has a pretty good relationship with their fans. I think they communicate really well. And they listen, so hopefully they're hearing that, because I'm hearing that a lot. Okay, well, when we get to Wenatchee, we'll mess with the settings a little bit. Okay. Yeah, we'll mess with the settings a little bit. I've heard that about SSAO, but for the most part, and I mean, I feel like I have a Windows update coming in, but it's like permanent, right? Like it's continuing to download. It's that same feeling of just kind of, like it's not getting all of it. So we'll take a look when we get up here. I've heard that about SSAO, but until, well, today, I haven't really had that problem. I've been able to hit 70 and 80 outside of cities, 60 in cities, and then in Colorado in the trees, 40s and 50s. But I'm feeling like we're really kind of struggle bus today. Struggle truck. All right, I'm going. Don't give me a ticket. Beautiful. Yeah, Oh man, it's got to be so hard for a dev to just always be like trying to find that balance, you know, trying to make the game as good as possible without breaking it, but continuing to grow it and expand it, you know. The other thing we can do is if it continues acting up like this, I mean, I think the thing that's most frustrating for me is it's so hit or miss. Like if it went down and stayed down, then it would obviously be an issue we needed to resolve, but it's going up and down. Up and down.
Get ready to turn left.
Yeah. And driver updates can do that now too. I'm feeling like that's happening more often than it used to,
Turn left.
where you've got driver updates that fix some games and break others. And it's like, well, now what do I do? I'm not gonna roll back drivers for specific titles and then roll them forward again when I want to play something else. That's crazy. I think the biggest problem is, I mean, I know big publishers talk to NVIDIA, and obviously NVIDIA has probably a liaison of some kind with Microsoft because they're all working at like the highest level. But I think for a lot of smaller developers, if NVIDIA does something, they find out about it on release day. They find out about it when the new drivers drop, and then they're scrambling to patch their game. And it's not that they're competing with one another. What's the word that I'm looking for? There's just no communication. It's like modders, right? Modders all work independently. You make a fantastic mod. It works great on vanilla, but if you run it in the title with a classic mod, a mod that everybody knows and loves and uses, then it breaks the game. And it's like, well, how do I make your mod work, bro? And they say, well, it's easy, just run it in vanilla. Well, nobody runs in vanilla. Everybody has other mods running. But it's impossible for a modder to know what mods you're going to be running, so I think it's impossible for a modder to
Continue straight on.
build their mod to be compatible with an infinite number of other mods or mod combos. They just don't know. And I feel like developers, it's the same way. They can't account for every system. Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I agree. And I've been working from home for years, so it's not a big deal for me. But I think for a lot of other people, just the idea of, I don't have kids, so that's a big thing for me. But the idea of, you know, being at home, homeschooling your kids unexpectedly, wow, I never thought I'd be doing this, and trying to do your job. And I feel like a lot of employers were, by necessity, very accommodating with that. By necessity, they're going through the same thing, but it still really impacted productivity. So yeah, it's been a crazy, crazy year. The main thing though is I don't think there's any way for a publisher or a developer to know all the different combinations of equipment there are. And even with beta testing, I feel like they still, it was FS19. On day one, people were like, why does my game keep crashing to desktop? And what we found out was you can't have controllers plugged into a hub. Wait, what? Really? Of all the testing that you did with this game, nobody ever had multiple controllers plugged into a hub. Okay. So it goes. But they came up with a fix for it. But you just can't know. And I think it may be, it's either SCS or Codemasters or somebody, but they flashed up a picture of their test room, and it's just a room full of PCs. And it's, you know, this is an AMD processor with an NVIDIA card. This is an Intel processor with a Ryzen card. This is, you know, this kind of system. They just try to find every reasonable combination of processors and GPUs that people could be running and just test their stuff on it. And, you know, these are all the different wheels that we own. These are all the different game pads that we own. And we really do, this is the developer saying this, we really do try to load the title up on as many different possible combinations of hardware and processor as we can possibly find. But even with that effort, I don't think it's possible to ever come up with all of them. And people build their own systems, right? Build a system that's never existed before. It's a total one-off. Developers can't anticipate that. I do think most of them do their best. But it's the only way that you know your title is going to not work, or CTD or BSOD or whatever. The only way to really know that for sure is to release it to a mass audience and then get the feedback. Yeah. And I honestly, I can't even remember what title it is. I want to say it was a racing title, so I'm thinking maybe more Codemasters, because they were talking about other wheel setups, but that wouldn't be completely unreasonable for SCS to have wheels. I play on a gamepad, but I know a lot of people do play on a wheel. If there was a way I could put like a 2-foot steering wheel on my motor base and rotate it so it was like a bus steering wheel, because it's dead vertical now. It's like a race car setup. But if I could have it horizontal, like a wheel in a bus, and if I could have it wider, I would think about it. But I don't know. The way my chair is set up and everything, it's all rigged for that race car feel. It would be very strange to control a truck that way. All right, welcome to Yakima. Now, I can say no crashes. And I feel like that is pulling out mods over the past year, running with fewer and fewer mods, making them more workshop mods. Less stuff from, oh shit. Oh. All right. I could have used a few more signs for that one. Oh, almost just rolled the truck. Just going primarily off the Steam Workshop. And I mean, even that, I tried to, third-party mods that I got, I tried to get them from the official link that the mod maker posted in the SCS Soft blog. I figure that's the safest way to be safe. But you still end up, I don't know, some of these mods, it's like, all right, unzip me. All right, virus.exe. Sure, I'll give it a try. You know, it just, some of them just really felt kind of dodgy. And the more of those that I get out of my mod folder, the more stable I think the game is. Yeah, and there was also an add-on you could get for either a Thrustmaster or Logitech shifter. I don't think they're making them anymore, but you can still find them on eBay. But it was a truck shifter. It had the splitter and the range selector. It sat on top of it, like screwed onto the shaft of your, really, with this traffic. It screwed onto the shaft of your shifter and extended it out. It made it a lot taller. But it essentially converted it into a full-blown, like, truck transmission, 18 forward speeds, that sort of thing. And they were like $99. I don't know how much they are on on eBay. I don't know how much they are on eBay or if they're even still available, but I think if you set it up like a truck, if you set your wheelbase up like a truck and use that shifter, definitely immersive. It would be, I don't know, problematic for me. My desk is so cluttered as it is right now. I mean, I've got a keyboard, a G13 panel, a Stream Deck, a flight stick, my mouse pad, 2 microphones, and then a wheel bolted to the middle of it. So I'm already out of room.
Turn right.
Yeah, I was... a part of that is the OCD, but I was turning into a bit of a hoarder. I realized that I had mods for all sims, right? For truck sim, for farm sim. I had mods that not only did I not use them, but I never really wanted them in the first place. I just wanted to find them. You know, you see a mod somewhere, and you think, oh, I want that. And you just go on a mod hunt, you know? And once you find it, if you find it, it's either disappointing and you never use it, or it's exactly what you thought it was going to be, and you still never use it. So I've gotten out of that habit, and I also tend to focus a lot more on things that are really, really well reviewed. and I also stay away from the dodgy mod sites. That helps, I think, more than anything else, because you really never know what you're getting. I know when 19 dropped, there were there were a ton of mods that people were downloading, and they hadn't even changed the version number in the XML, right? Like, it's lazy enough to just swap that over. It's not going to run, but if you swap that over, at least 19 can see it, and then it crashes your game. But this was even one step below that. This was just renaming the zip file. I know some people are doing that. It's just for the memes. It's for the lulz. I get it. I think other people are doing that because they really think it's that easy. Like, hey, look, I'm a modder. Look what I did. And you don't know until you download it. But I think if you stick with workshop mods, if you stick with things from the mod hub, really well-respected mods, well-reviewed mods, working with the actual modder via something like the SCS Soft blog. Man, I'm having a hard time talking. But I think if you sort of limit yourself, put those restrictions on it, I think you can stay out of trouble. Keep the game running faster. Keep your system running faster. Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. Svetislav, there's an Italian company that makes those components. I've priced it out. It would be about $75,000, and I would just have a 737 cockpit. And the problem is, I also like to fly the MD-80 and the 757. But yeah, I've looked at those. They are beautiful, and they're all analog too. I don't know how long it takes, because you need to go in and manually configure each of those functions to a specific. It's like key bindings, but there's hundreds of them. You get all this stuff manually configured, and I would love to do that. But at that point, I would have 4 rigs. I would have a race rig. I would have a generic flight rig that I would use for things like 757 or DCS. Then I would have a specific 737 rig, and then I would have my everything else rig. So I would have 4 complete gaming rigs, and one of them would be a $75,000 item. That's not gonna happen. That's like dipping into the retirement money to build something like that. I would love to do it. Oh God, feels like we just got kicked in the balls here. It's the trees, man. It's the trees. Are they doing something different with trees? This is all right. As soon as we get to Wenatchee, we'll mess with graphics settings a little bit and see if that helps. There's a kid in South America that has a truck sim. I don't know what to call it, but it's like a box basically in his kitchen. It's like a plywood box. You get inside, it's got a truck seat inside it and a giant screen, and the whole panel is like one giant custom button box and a big shifter coming up out of the floor, and it's got like blue lights, trucker lights. I think it's the trees. We'll find out when we get to Wenatchee. See if we can sort things out. I hope the quality is okay. I mean, we're still in the 40s and 50s, but it seems kind of jerky. It seems like it's stuttering a little bit and some micro freezes. That's what's concerning me. So I do hope the stream quality is okay. Yeah, it's amazing what people do with home simulators. And I want to say that kid in South America, that there's like yeah, we're getting some surging now. I got to back the graphic settings down as soon as we get this cargo delivered, and I do apologize. Looks okay. All right. I do. Yeah, come out of the trees. Frame rate comes back up. Interesting. Yeah, I do like to see the rigs that people build. Yeah, Ernie, it's really rough on my end. I think XSplit may be soothing some of it out, but we'll see. Yep, Wyoming and Iberia. I'm curious, Fried, if they release them at the same time, or if they release Iberia for 1.40 and they hold Wyoming till 1.41. Doesn't bother me if they do. I mean, my budget certainly doesn't mind. But I think they may be, because of COVID, because of 2020, who knows? but I think they may be holding that. I thought Iberia was supposed to release with Idaho for 1.39. Then they moved back to 1.40. And I figured, okay, well, Wyoming will go with 1.40 as well, but maybe not.
Exit right.
Pete 389. Is that the base game 389 or the Viper? Is the Viper discontinued? Is that abandonware now? I heard that never got brought forward to 1.39. I didn't know if he handed it off to another modder. Yeah, Texas. I don't know how they're going to do Texas. When you drive, when you drive into Texas from Louisiana, and I've done this several times. When you drive into Texas on the Louisiana side, the first mile marker that you see is 945. It is 945 miles to cross Texas on an interstate. It is an absolutely ridiculously big state. So I think, like Russia, if SCS decides to take a crack at that, I feel like they're going to need to release it in 2 phases. It may only be one DLC that you pay for, but I feel like they're going to need to release it in 2 chunks. I think they may. I think they'll do the same thing with Russia. And honestly, I don't know if they'll ever do all of Russia because it's 11 time zones and it's like the 7 or 8 easternmost time zones. There's really not a lot there. Not a ton of cities. I think they could have a ton of really cool industries because they're bringing in, SCS is bringing in a lot of industries and logging and mining and different kinds of trailers to haul, but also different types of places to pick up and different scenery. And I feel like if they did that in Siberia, well, I know everything east of Moscow isn't Siberia, but you know what I mean. As you get into more rural Russia, east of Moscow, I think they could have a lot of really different sort of creative, like innovative industries out there that you wouldn't see anywhere else on any other map. So maybe it wouldn't be cities, maybe it would just be a lot of yards and depots to pick up at that would be different from anything else. So we'll see. Yeah, now I saw Wyoming, I may have hallucinated this, but I saw Wyoming switch to coming soon and then switch back to TBA. That's what makes me think they were trying to push it out for 1.40, but maybe it's going to be 1.41. It's amazing to me that when SCS makes an announcement like that, the fan base is like, yeah, no problem. No problem. We got your back. And Dovetail makes the same announcement and people just get furious.
Get ready to turn right.
Right in here. Let's get this dropped off. Man, I really want to play with these settings. Yeah, they were for a minute. I swear I saw that. I know Iberia is, but I would almost bet that the window's down here. I would almost bet that I saw Wyoming was listed as coming soon momentarily. All right, that's sort of a tricky one. I think we can get it in there. Man, I so want to be able to do this first person. I've seen YouTubers do it. I know it can be done, but I can't do it yet. I know as of this morning, Iberia is coming soon, and Wyoming is TBA. And if we're going to be messing with graphics settings, let's hop in a different truck as well. Let's find a city close by, and let's hop in a different truck, because I did skin several. So let's keep mixing it up a little bit. Alright, that's not too bad. I say that, and then of course, right at the end, everything goes tits up. We end up taking 7 swings at it. Now we got it. All right. Windows down, set the brake. That's what I understand, Fried. All right, how'd we do? And I'm going to have some coffee as well. $40,000, I'll take it. We were on time, no damage. I don't think we got any tickets either. And we didn't hit anything. New Iveco, good. 4 out of 10 times? Yeah, I'm about the same. I have been practicing off camera, but it's tough, man. It really is. I can hook up when I don't have an owned trailer on. I can hook it up no problem. But it's that trailer. All right, so we want to go to graphics. And what do we want to do? Let's put the SSAO to medium. And let's put our scaling on 300. All right, we may lose our hook into the EXE when I do this. Hopefully not. Okay. No drama whatsoever. All right, so let's take a look and see what we've got close by as far as cities. How about the city that we're in? Perfect. So we'll go table view. We've got another Mac here. I didn't skin that one yet. I did skin that one. Let's try this one. All right, so we will, we're going to drive it. And I think this will get us through our sleep cycle as well. So we'll turn our lights back on, like so, and then we're going to relocate to, where did we say, Wenatchee? If I can find it on here, Wenatchee. We're going to relocate to Wenatchee. Done. Come on now, SSD, come on. All right, so that's that. And then we want a different trailer. Let's grab this one I just skinned the other night. This one right here. Yep, we're gonna relocate this to Wenatchee, like so. And then use it, yes. All right, see what this looks like. Oh, we're up to 6 million. Yeah, our drivers are making so much money now. And I think we just slept, so we don't need to sleep again. Where do we want to go? And we wanted to make local trips. How are we doing on time? 81 minutes? Yeah, we got time. So let's take some grain in our grain tank. Take this down to Portland. And then when we get down there, we'll try to take something back into Washington. Okay.
Time to get the job done.
And I did...
I'll find a new route.
For that, I did turn the lights on. Yep. Do that. Fire that up. Windows down. Let's hop outside and take a look. Yeah, that's a very utilitarian rig. Nothing flashy about it. It's just a work truck. I love it. All right, here we go. You know, I didn't used to, Ernie. When I first started playing, I think I was drawn to, same with Farm Sim. When I first started playing Farm Sim, I was drawn to like the most massive vehicles. And then I gradually kind of like toned it down. And I really like 150 horsepower tractors. And I was sort of the same way with Truck Sim. The first mod truck that I got was the RJL Scania for both ETS and ATS. I was driving that thing around the US and I built the 5-axle version. I thought that was just fantastic, right? You look over your shoulder at the sleeper cabin, it's like a little lounge back there. But a day cab, I don't know, it seems like the essence of a truck. Yeah, 100% right about the mirrors. Now, they did move them, did they not? I feel like they moved them a bit. Because the interior view and the exterior view are separate. So when you look at the outside of the truck, the mirrors appear to be in the same place. But then when you're inside, they render slightly differently. But yeah, I think a lot of people were really surprised by that. And I'm not seeing a huge difference in... frame rate. Let's see if it just stays smoother. And we can get away from some of that stuttering. Base game trucks sound so good now. I don't know if it's Fmod or if they've got some new recordings in there, but they sound really, really good. Oh, and yeah, I saw earlier in the chat, new Iveco. Do you know which one it is? Because that truck that needs to be retired. Both the Ivecos, man, nobody uses those. Everybody hates them. Yeah, this seems a bit smoother. Okay. Whoa. Speaking of smoother. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Now, I do still like some bigger long-haul trucks. But I've got multiple day cabs that I've built and skinned that I really like driving. I think that happened, like, when it really clicked for me was when some of the logging DLC dropped.
Keep left, and then turn left.
Man, I would love it if at some point the physics in this game was accurate enough that there were trucks that you couldn't get back into some of the more remote facilities. All right, if the wheelbase was too long, if it was too tall. Right, where you really do need like a little day cab. Yeah, I agree. Nobody uses the Iveco. I think the Iveco is less popular than the Renault Magnum, because the Renault Magnum it's arguably the ugliest truck in the world, but at least it's a well-made model. I feel like the Iveco, because it's so old, it was I don't know. SCS was still kind of figuring it out. So if you look at the models of the new trucks, the Mack, the Western Star, the MAN Euro 6, they're made to that new standard. They call it the advanced model, I think, advanced something, but it's skinned differently. They're a lot more complex and a lot. Scania Truck Simulator. I feel like the Scania got a lot of love, and the Iveco did not.
We are finished.
And I think we should be okay. Yeah, I don't drive I have a Magnum, but it is sort of a lull truck. I have a Magnum. Oh, this is terrible what I'm doing to traffic right now. I have a Magnum. I don't hate it. I mean, it does have a certain charm. It's an ugly truck, and it's a little bit underpowered, and the interior is kind of not good. But, you know, it is what it is. And I've got a Renault T now that I kind of like. But again, that's made to the newer standards. So even if it's not your favorite truck, it's at least well made enough that you can sort of enjoy it. And then what's the other one? There's another Renault, the other one. The one that's not the Magnum and not the T. But that one. I feel like nobody drives that one because it doesn't have either of those things. It is old, and it's not as well made as some of the new trucks. And it doesn't have the homely charm of the Magnum. So it just gets ignored. But yeah, the Iveco, I think, is the only truck that people actively hate. It's just not a very popular truck at all. All right, see if we can jackknife this thing over. Yeah, I think we can. That's it. The Renault Premium. Yep. Nobody likes that truck. I think the Western Star is sort of... Oh, jackknife. I feel like the Western Star is sort of in that same boat right now. And if they bring in the sleeper, even though that is, like we were talking about day cabs, I feel like that's just supposed to be a day cab. But if they bring in a sleeper, as they are saying they're going to, I think people will come around to it a little bit. But at the moment, with it just being a day cab, I think some people are sort of turned off by it. All right, there's neutral. Windows down. I didn't know that. You know, Renault has come around. I think that some of the reputation that Renault has is like from the 70s, but they're not the same company they used to be. It's like Fiat.
Let's do this.
You know, it's not. It's a whole different company. All right. And I just realized we need fuel so bad. We're on just about a quarter of a tank, so we absolutely have to get fuel on the way out of town. Yeah, I would like to be able to feel a little bit more difference in the physics of the trucks between something with a short wheelbase. Like this Mack, I think you can get it in like a 170, a 206, and a 296 or something. I don't know. There's quite a spread of wheelbase that you can get. And I know you can get the 3-axle and the 2-axle trucks in ETS. I would love it if you could really feel a difference in maneuverability and how they handle. Because I know those 2-axle trucks, one of the advantages is you can drive them easier in cities with very tight turns and very sharp angles, narrow streets, that sort of thing. Really want to add the 579? Are you talking in 379? Yes. Yeah. I would love to see a 379 or 359. I have wondered for a long time why they don't bring those vintage trucks in on both ETS and ATS, and I think the reason is the companies aren't going to license them because they want their newest and best stuff represented, and I think that is absolutely a mistake, because it would be possible to represent those old trucks and just absolutely like honor them. You know what I mean? Those gorgeous old hot rod trucks. I think it would be possible to really have like a tribute to them, and people would love driving them. You know, the old Scanias, the old Volvos. So I think if I was Peterbilt, I would totally license those trucks to SCS. And I continue to wonder why there aren't more licensed parts. I know there are plenty of companies that make aftermarket parts. Even Alcoa. I know you can get aftermarket Alcoa wheels. I say aftermarket, but mod wheels. You can get a mod pack with Alcoa wheels. But why does Alcoa, like the biggest manufacturer of truck wheels in the United States, why do they not have a license to have real Alcoa wheels in sim? And you can get Goodyear on the ETS side, but there's no official Goodyear pack for ATS. Is that correct? Possibly. So I mean, ultimately, somewhere it comes down to money. But I think it would just be amazing for all those companies if they could have real products with real world data represented in game. Oh, yeah. I think a 359 with a 36-inch coffin box sleeper and a really loud, rattly motor, I think that would just be amazing. Or a 2-stroke. Oh, swoon. I'm all over the road here. All right, we got this.
Get ready to turn left. Turn left.
And I don't know if these mirrors are this problematic in real life, but not just in the Mack Anthem, but in all heavy trucks like this. It's like having the side panel in a tractor in Farm Sim. Anytime you want to make a turn to the right, you look over and all you see are your bus 6 panels and your Lemkin panels and everything else that we've got added in there. Oh, yeah, it'd be fantastic. All right, so let's see how we do in trees now. Here's trees. Plenty of trees right here. We're at 60 FPS. So, I mean, maybe that made some difference. Yeah, I'm confident saying that it did. Now, I don't know which of the two it was that made the difference, but we are in heavy trees right now, and we got no problem holding 60, so okay. And the game still looks good. I think the one advantage that this title has is because it never really looks that good, it never really looks that bad. It's like expectations are low. If you were playing Tomb Raider and all of a sudden it looked like this, you'd throw yourself out a window. But in Truck Sim, it's like, yeah, not a big deal. That's just what it looks like. Hang on. Trying to read and drive. Yeah, that I think would be the trickiest part, because I don't know that the manufacturers have access to those motors. And I know, like in the US, because you can, particularly with older trucks, you can run a lot of different engines in that truck. I think if you wanted to have a specific sort of modded engine sound, I mean, that, maybe I've played too much Forza in my time, but I would love it if when you put different exhaust on the trucks, they had a different sound. But it's a lot of work, because you've got to record all those sounds, you've got to bring them in via Fmod, right? You got to code it all. It's not that easy. And I think that's why every engine has its own sound. All right, Fried. Thanks, my friend. I'll see you soon. Every engine has its own sound, and that's it. But the idea that you could put different parts on the truck and have a different sound, it's like in Ride 4, there's kind of a controversy, because when you put different exhaust on the motorcycles, they all sound exactly the same. And it's because you can't go out. I mean, if you've got I don't know, the ZX-10, there's probably half a dozen different systems that go on a ZX-10. And then you got a couple different intakes as well. So a couple different intakes and a dozen different exhausts. It's not like Milestone is going to buy all those. That's 10 grand. So you've got to find people that have that available, and you've got to record it. So the idea of, you know, who's got an old two-stroke motor that would fit a Peterbilt? All right. And I'm sure, you know, via some message board, Facebook, I don't know, whatever, you could probably track somebody down, but then you've got to go actually get the recordings done. And then repeat that out for all the different brands, all the different possible engines, and then all the different ways that they could be set up. So it's like, oh, okay, I need to record an old 16-liter Packard with a Lopi cam. All right, well, somebody's got one somewhere. But it's a question of tracking them down and then getting out and recording it. So I think you could end up with a very sort of mixed bag of sounds. But the idea of having an entire sound palette to represent vintage trucks, it's just a massive ask. And there's a company called Crankcase Audio. This is amazing. This is very postmodern. There's a company called Crankcase Audio, and apparently all they do is engine sounds for video games. If it's got a motor in it, they can build a sound pack for it. So I think they go out and do all that recording and get everything converted over to whatever your game is built on. Everybody's running Fmod, so they would get it all. You know what I mean? They would essentially build you a package, and then you just drop it straight into Fmod. But depending on what it is that you want recorded, they're going to charge you a lot. So it could be done. I don't doubt that it could be done, that you could come up with an entire library of vintage truck engine sounds for European and American trucks. It's just going to cost you $2 million. And SES, I know they're making money. I don't think they're making that kind of money. If they had $2 million, they would use it to develop their next title, not to bring in vintage specific engine sounds for old trucks. It'd be great if they did, but I don't see that happening. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Ernie. In Flight Sim, I'll go back and do a replay of my own takeoff. You can do it's like a pause replay when you're solo. You can't do it when you're multiplayer, but when you're solo, you can essentially just pause the game, rewind and play back a specific portion, and then pick up exactly where you were. So you don't have to end the session to do the replay. But I'll play the replay of the takeoff over and over from like multiple angles just to hear those engines when they're at maximum power. I don't know what it is, man. Something about burning hydrocarbons just really does it for me. I love engine sounds, all types of engines. Carefully. And I would like to, if possible, slide over here. Here we go. Man, I think these engines sound plenty good now. but I would love to see some vintage trucks. Put a Cummins motor in a Ford Mustang. I mean, I suppose you could do that. It's going to need a different transmission, though. You make it like a 2-speed with all the torque that puts out. All right, and I'm going to be super, super careful here because through these twisties, I feel like we came in this way, and through these twisties, yeah, this is the one that almost got me. This turn right here, coming down through it the other way, this one almost got me because it's downhill, sort of picking up speed, and it's just very unexpectedly, yeah, it's posted at 55. I would say it's more like 45. That's just me. This is such an amazing time to be in sim gaming. Really, really is. I feel very fortunate to have got back into gaming when I did, and to have come back into it the way that I did. And it's continuing to evolve. It really, really is. I did not think that I would be spending this much time in flight sim. I didn't think I would be spending this much time in online racing. I thought it was just going to be trucks and farm. But it's definitely an evolution. Alright, so we'll lock in cruise control right there. Okay, that's right on 60. Get into our high gear. Here we go. I've got to do, I think the only thing I have left on the ATS side is the 389. The 389 and the big Mac Anthem, the 70-inch sleeper Mac Anthem. So I just need to do those two. The trailers, I think, are all switched over. And then on the ETS side, I've got to do the 2 Mercedes Actros, the 2-axle and the 4-axle, and also the other one. You know, the other one that I can't remember right now. But I'm just about done. We got a few more days. I think I can get everything done. Yeah, really sporadic. I'm wondering if that's not loading now. Because there's not a ton of trees where we are. There's not a lot of detail where we are right now. I wonder if this isn't a loading issue. We are coming in off SSD. No, loading wouldn't. I mean, loading would give you freezes and micro freezes. But I don't think it would slow down frame rate. No. It's something else. What do I use for skinning? I use Mod Studio 2. Photoshop and Mod Studio 2. And some of the vector stuff I'll build in Inkscape. And son of a... I completely forgot to get fuel on the way out of town. Oh, the worst professional strimmer. This is terrible. All right. Well, let's hope we don't run out of fuel. Yeah, Mod Studio 2. It's super, super easy to use. And you can also go to their Discord, and they've got a ton of XMLs for mod trucks, mod trailers, and even things like the Actros. So the Actros, if you get Mod Studio 2, the base Actros XML is for the what I think of as like the old the old Actros. And the old Actros was just a simple model, and then when the tuning pack dropped for it, then it became the advanced model, the advanced model. So there's a new XML for it. So stuff like that, you just need to track down the XML for whatever truck or trailer it is that you want to skin. Yeah, I've got a UV checker, and I find that's the easiest way to do it. It's just a checkerboard of different colors and letter codes, and what you do is drop it on whatever it is that you are going to use for your skin file, and then import it as a skin. And by looking at the truck in the paint shop, you can see where all those tiles landed and get a better idea of what goes where and what's right reading and not right reading, and what's going to be upside down, what's going to be backwards. Because with the alternate UV models, it's like there's no logic to it. So anything you can do to sort of minimize the guesswork is going to make it more efficient to knock those skins out. It's a new one, like an entirely new one from scratch. It takes me about 2 hours. And making adjustments and making changes and edits and that sort of thing is like 15 or 20 minutes. And the trailers are a lot quicker because it's really just placing the logo on. And now the new trailers, I think it may be almost all the trailers now. But like the Corona trailers for the ETS side do have accessories, and they do have a left and a right. So you need to make, it's the same, like the layout file is identical, but you need to create 2 images, one left, one right, and sometimes one is reversed, sometimes it's not, again, depending on the alt UV. And then when you go in, you place the main skin for the trailer itself, and then you open up the accessories tab and place the additional images that you created for, like if you want branded underrun protection, if you want your logo on the underrun, you need to have, one side will be facing one way and the other side will be facing the other way. Because in my case, I've got a unidirectional logo, so I always want the skinny end pointed forward. We are going to run out of fuel, by the way. Oh god. So I always have to flip the logo so the skinny end is pointed forward, so you've got to create a left and a right for your underrun or for your air conditioner panel or whatever it is that you want. Then you just put those in as accessories, but it's all done in Mod Studio. And then you hit the button and it zips everything up and converts it. So yeah, like if you look at this side, that's the original logo. If you look at the other side, it's on the other side, but flipped over. So it always looks like it's pointing forward. And, all right, there's fuel. I'm going to cross this bridge and, oh god. I'm going to cross this bridge and get some fuel here. I think we'll, hopefully. Yeah, I think we got enough to make it across the bridge. And we'll be on our way. Where are we going? We're going back into Oregon. That's right. Maybe get a green light? Maybe? Here we go. And I don't think we need to sleep, do we? Hang on. Let's take a look here. We could. We could. Let's do both. We'll get fuel and sleep. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to blame it on multitasking. But I don't know if it's entirely multitasking. I think it might just be I'm kind of a dope. Perfect.
Go straight on.
Nice timing on the green light. And fuel is not there.
Make a U-turn. Reroute.
Fuel is right here. It says we can't make a right turn.
Turn when possible.
All right. Where can we make a right turn?
Okay. Let's find a new route.
Let's do this. We're all the way over here, so let's just go ahead and sleep now. We'll get fuel in the morning.
Never return. I'll find a new
Because it is just about 6 p.m. local time.
route. Make a U-turn.
So we'll go ahead and sleep through the night. That'll make it early morning. We really didn't drive at night too awful much in this video at all. All right. Down here. I do like driving at night, but I know it's awfully dark. I mean, I get it. It's that's that whole nighttime thing. So I do try to avoid it, but I enjoy it. I like flying at night too, which doesn't really make any sense because there's nothing to see. I mean, you can see the lights of the cities underneath, but that's it. There's no scenery whatsoever. All right, so right back in there. Brakes, windows down, parking lights on. Here we go. Four in the morning. Okay, so we'll drive at night a little bit. Lights on. Get rid of that. Like so, let's get some fuel, and we'll be on our way. Ernie, I'm trying to do a lot more photography in X-Plane. I'll admit, it doesn't look as good as Flight Sim, but it can look really good. So I've been trying to do more, I don't know what else to call it, photography. But you can set the time of day to anything you want, and then there is that replay feature. So what I'm finding is, as long as the landing is good, you can go back on the replay. You can move the plane forward and backward in the replay to any point that you want, and then you can move the slider for the time of day to any point that you want. So you can make it sunrise or sunset, anything you want. Put the plane exactly where you want it, and then pivot the camera around so you get that nice silhouette effect, right? Golden hour with the aircraft silhouetted in front of the sunrise or the sunset, the clouds and everything. I used to be everything. But one of the things that I used to be is an actual professional photographer. And I don't do that anymore. So it's fascinating to me that you can take photographs in video games, but you have complete control over everything. I know I submitted my portfolio to a pro photographer he did it as a courtesy. It wasn't a professional portfolio review. It was just a professional doing a favor for me. But he took a look at it and said, you need to be a photojournalist. You're trying to be an art photographer. You need to be a photojournalist. Your work is way too immediate. So go places where things are happening and just capture them immediately. Don't try to put things together. Just go where interesting things happen. So I ended up photographing forest fires and natural disasters for a while. Hey, why not? But it's such a contrast where in a video game you really can sort of move reality around. You can move time forward and backward. You can adjust the time of day. You can move the car, the aircraft forward and backward. And then you can put the camera in absolutely impossible places where it could never be in real life. But I really do enjoy that. I just swapped my starting soon reel over. I had to, because everything that was in it, all the vehicles that were in it were branded to the old skin. So I couldn't have that. So what I ended up doing was it's essentially a slideshow of all the in-game photos that I've taken over the past couple of years. Well, not all of them, because there's several hundred in there, and I think I pulled out about 50 for that reel. But I know there are people that do that, I don't want to say professionally, but yeah, I guess professionally. Like there are professional in-game video game photographers. I don't know how that works. I don't know who pays for that. Somebody does.
Keep left, then turn left. Turn left.
Green arrow, I'll take it. Right through here. I gotta hop on the forums when I'm done here. Figure out what's going on with these gates. I am noticing it, I think, a lot more on the ATS side than the ETS side. Cement truck is going to let me over. Thank you, sir. Eventually. AI seems a little bit better the past week or two. But I could just be imagining it. I haven't seen any of those weird traffic jams at the bottom of on-ramps. You know, where there's a vehicle, like, turned perpendicular to the flow of traffic. I don't know how that happens. Yeah, it really is a lot of fun. And it, again, it's one of those things that when you're, I don't know, when you're in a social setting, and once you get past, so what do you do, right? Like, what do you do for money? What do you do for a living? All right, so you talk about that. And then it's like, well, what do you do, like, for hobbies? And when you say gaming, because most people just say, my kids are my hobby. My kids consume all of my time. How about you? And I say, well, you know, I'm into gaming. And I think for a lot of people, whatever gaming was when they were in college, that is their idea of gaming. They really haven't followed the evolution of gaming. As I mean, it makes perfect sense. If you move away from it, if it's no longer an interest for you, of course you wouldn't be following it. But I think to a lot of people, the idea that games could be visually correct enough, realistic enough that it would make sense or be valuable. What's the word I'm looking for? That there would be a reason to capture an image from inside a video game. I think for a lot of people, it's like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. And then you see some of these images, and I mean, even some of the images that I've been able to capture, I know it's a video game, but it's still, you know, it's just about there. I feel like one generation more, maybe two, and it will be completely indistinguishable from reality. I mean, CGI is just about there in movies. When you look at CGI from 10 or 15 years ago, it's like, were we ever fooled by that? And so you think, well, we'll look at the CGI that we're watching right now in 2021 movies. And 10 years from now, we'll say, oh, God, that looks terrible. But I think at some point we won't anymore. I think at some point CGI will be indistinguishable from reality. Oh, you know what I also just realized? I've seen a detour on this trip. Maybe we've got that slider in the right place, finally. That a detour is really kind of an unusual event. Yeah, exactly. Whatever they were playing in college, that's where they, you know, and it does make perfect sense. I'm not, you know, they're not doing anything wrong. I'm not calling them out or anything, but it makes perfect sense. I mean, there are there? I don't know, there have to be. I mean, I try to stay current with technology. I try to stay current with everything. But I'm sure there are things in my world that, you know, the last time I was interested in them is my last sort of impression of them. And so I really haven't followed all the evolution of whatever that is. Cameras. Cameras are a perfect example. I had a super hot rod, absolutely top of line Nikon DSLR and a bunch of A-glass lenses when I was a photographer. I don't even know what the current top of line Nikon DSLR number is. So I've completely lost track of it. So if you asked me, like, what's the very best Nikon you could get, I'd throw a number at you and it's like, it was. So that's me saying, oh, what, you mean like Mario Kart? Yeah, exactly. That's what gaming is in 2021. It's just Mario Kart. Yeah, exactly. And it is a trade-off. I've never really thought about having kids until lately, until this one. I've never really thought about having kids, but I know I'm guessing the vast majority of people, if you ask them, hey, would you like to trade away the last 10 years of your life with your family and instead you could have been gaming, they'd be like, yeah, no, dude. Nope. I'll take my family over anything. So it is a trade-off, definitely for everybody, but I know Just because people moved away from gaming after college, they certainly aren't missing out on anything. What was I saying about detours? Oh, game. Perfect. We can probably sneak through there. I don't know if you've done that. You've done that. I'm sure you've all done that. When you see a detour, you can just like sneak past the guardrail and keep going. Yeah, I've done it. I don't do it when I'm streaming though, but I do it. All right, and we do seem, yeah, it's better. I'm guessing if we took the scaling down to 200 and maybe dropped the SSAO down a little bit more, we could get completely stable. But I do miss I do miss those 75 FPS days. I feel like that was like 1.37, 1.38 where I could run at 75 FPS all day, even in cities. Not anymore. Yeah, I do it. I do it. I've driven through a hedge or two in Farm Sim. I admit it. There goes Brown Santa. So we will make our way. Where are we going? Somewhere. I don't know what it is about seeing trains. People just love seeing freight trains in real life. I mean, if you have to wait for one to pass, like if you're stuck at a crossing, that's probably not too happy about seeing that one. But for the most part, I think everybody just loves trains. I have no idea why. But I love trains. When I see a train in Truck Sim, it makes me want to hop in Train Sim. Yeah, it definitely is. It is. And I'm sure it would take, I mean, because I game definitely a lot, arguably too much. I think it would take a minute for me to get used to not gaming. But if for some reason I couldn't, or if for some reason I chose to give it up, or if I have kids and I can't, just don't have the time for it, I think, in time, it fades away. I mean, I was all about sport bikes for about 5 years. I mean, all about sport bikes. I worked at a dealership, and my entire life was essentially sport bikes, motorcycles. It was where I worked. It was what I did for recreation. It was what I did socially. It was just everything to me. Time and a place. And I never understood the idea that, when you settle down, your girl doesn't want you riding motorcycles anymore, and in particular, doesn't want you riding sport bikes. And that always seemed kind of not fair. And this is the first time in my life I've ever felt like, yeah, that really wouldn't be fair to her. Because it is, I mean, I've never put a street bike down. I've crashed a lot of dirt bikes. I've never put a street bike down ever. But sport bikes are ridiculous. And of course mine were tuned, because nothing is ever good enough. But the idea of a 400-pound motorcycle with 220 horsepower is just absurd. It really, really is. And they are insanely dangerous. So, that was a huge part of my life for a long time. Then I moved away from it, and it's not something, if I had the opportunity to get back into it now, it's not something I think I would automatically or instantly move back to. I mean, we may talk about it and decide that it's appropriate, within certain parameters or something, but things come and go from your life, and as important as they may seem at the time, when it's time for them to go away, they go away and you move on to something else. So for me right now, gaming it's just a really good part of my life. But if there's ever a time where it's no longer appropriate, then we'll move on to the next thing. Got to keep growing, got to keep evolving. I do wonder how old I'm going to be when I finally have to take my piercings out. I think because of of the way generations sort of move forward,
Keep right.
right? Like, I'm going to have my tattoos for life. You can get them removed. I've got no plan to do that. But I don't know what I'm going to look like when I'm an old man with a bunch of tattoos and piercings. But I think because so many other people of my generation have a ton of tattoos and piercings, it's like, yeah, whatever, we're just people. You know, I won't be the only one. But it's going to be different, I have to say. I've heard that question before. People have asked me, like, oh, what do you think those tattoos are going to look like when you're 80? Like, they're going to look as bad as the rest of me. What do you think the rest of me is going to look like when I'm 80? You think I'm going to be like an underpants model with a bunch of bad tattoos? Oh, man, I'll be a wreck when I'm 80. And my tattoos will be wrecked, too. That's what time does to you. So there are things that are part of my life now, and I don't know if they'll always be a part of my life. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't know what I'm going to look like when I'm old. I'm curious. I still get carded, so I don't know, man. I still get carded when I buy wine. I don't know. Sort of on the fence about that. Let me slide over here one more time.
Keep right. Then exit right. Exit right. Keep right.
Keep right. Okay. Man, this game, I forget sometimes, like, the scope of this game, the scale of it. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I know if you go into teleport mode and kind of zoom all over, you can see that the game is essentially just kind of a series of roads with a little bit of scenery to the left and right. And then other than that, it's just skybox. So it's very well executed. They pull it off really well. But the scale of this game, that you can drive all over the western United States and always have these, for the most part, pretty good skylines. There's a little bit of pop in, but for the most part, you know, it's just the scale of it. It's a really, we're numb to it, I guess. But the goal of this game, the scope of this game is really, really ambitious. It's really done well. I'm guessing that's why it's one of my favorite titles. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you know, I feel bad for somebody that had a man bun, like, forever, and then man buns became the thing, and it's like, I'm just gonna wear a hat. I don't want anybody to see my man bun.
Keep right.
And thankfully, that craze ended.
Turn right.
What? Are we there already? No. How's that now? Oh, you're kidding. 2 hours and 3 minutes? Oh. This game, I'll tell you what, man. It's a roller coaster of emotion when you play a little truck sim. You never know what's going to happen. I do like that. Logistic area left lane. Are we at the airport? I see terminals. I see a tower in front of us. I think we're at the airport. Okay. Well, cool. We'll go down here and drop off. And that'll be just about 2 hours exactly. A few minutes over 2 hours. Perfect. I mean, you do the whole stream with me. So you know I can't plan this stuff, right? Like, you see enough unexpected events that occur. There is no way that I could plan this, but somehow we always end up finishing just about exactly on 2 hours. That is amazing. Is that... Yeah, that's an airport tower. Okay. Cool. Well, I'm going to have some lunch. I really should go for a run. I've been kind of a slacker lately, but it's been cold and rainy a lot. But I think I may go for a run around the golf course and then start my dinner. get this green arrow. Maybe. We got it. Beautiful. All right, so right in here. And I'm going to go third person. Yep, that is definitely an airport. Oh, yeah. That is an airport. We beat the train. Fantastic. It's all coming together. So this is PDX is the airport in Portland. And I think if we go, yeah, we'll go over here so we're not doing it on the blind side, and also so we're not trying to work around this other trailer. Stuff it right in there and call it. Beautiful. Yeah, it's been, I don't know, winter in the American South is different. It doesn't get really cold, but it gets cold enough that it's too cold to really do anything. And it doesn't snow or anything, but it does rain quite a bit, so it's just kind of mud season. And it's, I don't know. I mean, you got to get out. Particularly after 2020, I feel like we've all got just terrible cabin fever, so you got to get out. But it's not always the best circumstances. Oh, come on now. I didn't want to clip the curb, so I didn't throw it over soon enough, so we'll have to straighten it out. But, you know, one extra swing is not bad. 3 extra swings, that I try to avoid. I mean, it's going to give it to us, but I don't feel good about that. We're just kind of manhandling this thing. Sir. All right. That's mo better. Arguably. There we go. All right. Well, that's as good as it's going to get. So, don't need parking lights. It's 9 in the morning. Windows down. Engine is off. Let's see how we did. Late. What? How late are we? What? What just happened? I mean, there wasn't a lot of money, so we only lost 1,200, or we made 1,200 less. I don't know. All right, what kind of money we got? 6.2 million. I'll take it. All right, I'm gonna call it. So we'll come back tomorrow and do. We'll do Farm Sim 19. We'll do the Garima Potato DLC. I don't know what time it's going to drop. Very often DLC drop at 1 p.m. my time. If that's the case, then we'll start it about 10 minutes late. If it does drop first thing in the morning, as some DLC have in the past, then we'll just start it at the regular time. But we'll be doing FS19 tomorrow. And then so that's Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I don't know. We'll figure something out. Maybe we'll do Western Shore on Wednesday or something else. I don't know, Kerbal maybe. Made it to the moon. We didn't make it back to Earth, so we could try that one. We'll figure something out. Anyway, there you have it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for checking out the stream. I appreciate you. See you tomorrow. We'll do some Farm Sim. Good night.